Board games. They're an awesome, all-inclusive gateway to mercilessly crushing friends and family, even vanilla games like Monopoly. But true board game geekdom has a whole other layer, and the most classic example is Catan, the king of board games.
The game is Settlers of Catan.
Settlers of Catan is composed of an outer board, inner land, hexagons, a robber, roads, cities, and a bunch of little number pieces. It's colorful, it's fun, it's inspired a whole sub-nerd collective on the internet. But the board? Garbage. Absolutely not acceptable. So we decided to make our own. To get started, for the inner tiles and tokens, we wanted to use wood and spray paint them different colors. For the outer pieces, we wanted to use blue acrylic. All these materials were then cut using lasers. No, not these lasers, not these lasers, not these lasers. More like these lasers, except they look like this. Pretty cool. Yeah, we know, it's basically the future. To begin creating the files for the laser cutter, we started with a 3D model in SolidWorks of each of the tiles. We then converted this 3D model into a 2D model because laser cutters can only work in 2D. But we thought, why stop there? Because
you can never go too far.
So we decided to import images and save them as bitmap layers to put on top of the cut lines. This would allow the laser cutter to engrave textures onto the pieces and not simply cut them out. The next step was to export this 2D SolidWorks file as a flat DXF file, and then export it as an SVG so the laser cutter could accept it. Then we had the task of adjusting the power and speed settings so that the laser could cut where we wanted it to cut, but also engrave at different levels where we wanted it to only engrave and not cut all the way through. It needs to be exactly right, otherwise you get something like this. For each tile, we also laser cut a base plain wooden piece, and we laser cut tiny sheep, tiny trees, and all those little parts to go on top of the tiles as well. And here's the final result for all the laser cut pieces for the board. For the desert tile, we wanted to use sheet metal instead of wood, so we had to use the waterjet cutter instead of the laser cutter. Next, for the stone tile, we found this great 3D model, which makes the most sense to 3D print. For the stone tiles, we used the traditional FDM 3D printer, which melts plastic layer by layer. For the robber piece, we also found a great 3D model, but we wanted to use the resin printer, since this would allow us to achieve higher resolution on this more intricate piece. Now, buildings and roads. This is about to be loud. And after a little sanding and a little paint, the roads and buildings are done, and the whole board is completed. And here it is, with all the pieces together and ready to play. We hope you learned something. Thanks so much for watching.